Welcome back. Breakfast Central it is, and we have Uade Ahimie, who is here with us, and he is now, let's mention it very clearly, the Chief Coordinating Officer, CCO, Sustainable Stories Africa. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, Joe.
Congratulations on your new hat.
Yeah, it's wearing a new hat now. Chief Coordinating Officer.
Yes. More like any work.
What do you mean by any work? You
Coordinate everything.
Oh, okay. Alpha, what are you doing?
Yeah, any work.
But you have to be careful, because he's now giving a happy customer service week from the police. Anything for the boys.
So it's still any work. So you know that to coordinate things means that you need to be on top of everything.
Bird's eye view, yeah.
To make sure that things work well and they continually work well. Especially when you're looking at the potentials and the possibilities of the things that can happen in a particular space. So that's why I said, so when they call you Chief Coordinating Officer, just take it as any work.
Exactly. I like that.
Interesting.
I like that. Let's
get
first.
straight to the papers. We'll start off with the Punch newspapers. The headline there is about the biggest story that broke yesterday. The appointment of a new INEC chair, Professor Amupitan. Amupitan faces tough test as new INEC chair. The writer says opposition warns against partisanship, demand urgent reforms. Tinubu APC defend appointment, urge fairness and credibility. We also have at the top of the Punch newspaper, National Assembly probes NNPCL over 18 billion naira refineries. $1 billion. Wow, that's a huge mistake. Over 18 billion refinery spending, and the bad news is those refineries aren't working as we speak. Tinubu declares 959 for national honors for this year. We're hoping Joe and I and maybe Olive would make it to that list for service to Nigeria, national consciousness, and our contribution. I don't think the list have been.
That's for national honors?
Yes.
Yeah. Federal government moves to audit varsities over TAT fund grants. Sometimes they release money to these universities. We don't see what they do with it. And there's also one here, interesting. Tinubu pardons Herbert Macaulay, Vatsa, Farouk Lawan, 172 others. And people have said, why didn't he go as far back as Jaja of Okpobo and Queen Amina of Zaria? Those Nigerians on social media, they're not really very nice, and they say all sorts of things.
Well, it's his prerogative, and he has the power to do that.
Okay. Police back down on tinted glass enforcement. Okay. Some good news there. And happy, I guess it's part of their happy.
I know why you're happy.
Their customer week. Because the Nigerian police, this is in tune with customer service.
I was listening to a platform today, and they say the tinted glasses law is a law. It was not an act of parliament. It was a decree that was signed in 1991 by the then military administration. So we need to also get that right. And these are some of the things that we always talk about when we say military decrees remain. So for instance, the decree on coup plotting that was signed in 1976 is still in existence. It's still part of the law because it hasn't been repealed. I think Decree 2 that had to do with journalists and all that has been repealed, Decree 2 and 4. And it took a lot for that to be done. So these are things I think the National Assembly needs to look at and then say, okay, all these decrees and edicts and for state assemblies and edicts that were passed during military rule, how do we now look at them and converge and say, okay, let's bring out proper laws that would help Nigerians better understand how to go about it. Because it was just a decree, and I remember when that happened in 1991, it was just that, people, criminal activities, people just use tinted police, what's it called? But there's also a process for it, meaning that you have to go and get permits from the Nigerian police. So, but let's all be clear about these things, and let's the National Assembly look at a number of all those decrees and edicts for the states, so that we can now say, okay, which ones are still relevant and pass the necessary acts that would govern the states and the country from that perspective, not just
and also bring us up to speed with
exactly
global best practices. This is 2025.
Exactly.
Yes, and still on the front page, just two more stories before we move on. Policeman forgets cap. Go students cap after extortion. That's what you call cap in hand. Happy customer service week.
But that policeman could face
after extortion.
Room trial.
Was the extortion too good that he said, wow?
No, you have to leave a souvenir is part of customer service week. So the cap after extorsion was
Cap in hand.
Cap in hand.
cap in hand. Cap in hand.
And finally, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Tinubu Oshumon as a giant in broadcasting, Dr. Christopher Kolade died at the ripe age of 92. I think that thing that they say ripe age is in Nigerian lexicon only. I mean, nobody wants...
There's no right age.
There's no right age.
No right age.
You're losing someone.
The good book says 3 scores and a half.
That's 70.
Yeah, 70 or 80.
So once you have reached 70, that age is ripe. So
Okay.
in that context, I would...
Do we pick a story here before we move? Let's talk about the INEC chairman. What do you make of Professor Amupitan as the new INEC chair, subject to confirmation by the National Assembly?
I was trying to... I read through the press release by the office of the presidency. And yes, fantastic. He's written books on governance, so he should understand how governance should play. He's a lawyer who understands the law. His areas of specialty are governance and commercial law and business law and so on and so forth. So when you consider all that as a lawyer, at least you should also understand how rules and regulations come to be and have to work. So that for me, yes, makes good sense. But the other thing I always ask is, must you be a professor to be the INEC chairman? Because when I think about it, all the INEC, I don't know what the Constitution says, so I'll have to find out, but all the INEC chairmen from Professor Nwosu right down to now, they don't seem to have shown us that level of ethical value, maybe aside from Professor Nwosu, of ethical value that the academia brings to play. And I hope this will be a change.
Why do you always choose from the academia? Are they the only ones qualified to be INEC chairpersons?
Well,
why not use former electoral commissioners, for example? You look at the CV of the interim INEC chair, Madam May. It's fantastic. She's more than qualified to be.
She's worked there, but I don't know why we feel that once you put a professor behind the desk, it means that is value unpersonified. You get? We've seen the decay in the academic or in the academia over time. ASU strike, stories of harassment and so on and so forth. But that's just the story of Nigeria. So at the end of the day, what I think for me, I don't know him personally, but what I think is he should ensure that the rules and regulations as they are now in the INEC laws, or the laws that govern INEC, are being used and being shown to be used transparently, meaning that no partisanship, beavers, if it's beavers, then let's know what we're doing.
From the beginning, from the get-go.
From the onset, how does it work? And then another area I think he really needs to work on, and he needs to work on it like yesterday, is the ability of Nigerian voters to be able to get their accreditation. Are you with me? Without having to get punished to become eligible to go and vote. And what do I mean by that? Your voter's ID, do I need to have a voter's card for me to go to the voting station? I don't think so in today's technology world. I have an NIN ID.
As long as they can verify who you are.
Verification is very important, and those are the things, for me, the steps you should start taking immediately so that more people can easily register. You can capture their information. These days, you don't need to go anywhere. You just need to have a passport picture that is the right size, and then you load it up, and all your details are there. And maybe the only thing that you probably need to do is now go to the center and then do your fingerprints and your facial recognition. So those are the immediate parts that need to be done so that you can make electioning as simple as possible. Then secondly, on my own part and my own thinking is we should curb this idea of election just holding for one day. We should have a window where people who have to go to work will go and vote and have a day where they can go and vote.
It's not a public holiday in Ghana.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and so that window.
And then what about one day, having all elections just in one day?
And yeah, I was going to get there, having all the elections in one day. So if I want to go and do my early voting, for instance, if we're talking about people in diaspora who want to vote, how do you wait for the day of the election for them to go queue somewhere, or they can vote? And with technology coming in, verification is not a big deal anymore. People verify us with BVN, NIN, you just name it. So that way, what then happens is that you are able to ensure that all these things are done. You probably have more people go and vote properly without the fear of intimidation and or whether the political class wants that is a different case or different scenario. But I think for me, those should be the first things. Over the next 6 months, how do you put all those things in play so that Nigerians who have registered, Nigerians who are yet to register and have turned 18, Nigerians who have registered and have moved from one place to the other can vote anywhere in Nigeria, wherever they are at any particular point in time, by just going to an accredited voting center before and on the day of an election, and ensuring that those things are done. What that will do for me is that, one, it will reduce the quagmire of logistics that you have to face for an election day. Mm-hmm. Because what then happens is that, yes, you will have most of people still voting on election day, but you'd have gotten maybe another 25 to 50% or another 25 to 30% of the voting population actually having voted before the election day comes in.
All right. I'd like us to move quickly to the next paper. Very quickly, I'd like us to look at Daily Independent. If we have Daily Independent, let's take that paper next up. Tinubu pardons Macaulay, Farouk, Lawan, Vasta, 172 others. I think there's a lot of eyebrows for Farouk Lawan. Few Nigerians have raised eyebrows to say, what's going on?
Well, he served his sentence.
Yeah, it did. So let's just be honest. That's one politician who actually went through the process as well. Council approves 1% FAC deduction for police trust fund. Does this mean that the police officers will start
customer service week
getting their pencoms like we saw in the protest, and they will be?
This is different.
When you approve 1% from FAC, simply means that while the states are also receiving, the police will not, their trust fund will also have.
In the law that brings about the police, what's it called? There's always been a provision for how some of those monies will be contributed. Now, what it then means is, if you take the 1%, it means that government side of the contribution will now be ascertained, and we know where it's coming from. So when monies come into the federation account, you will take the 1%. Are you with me? That relates, because it's monies that belong to all the states, and it goes into the police, trust fund, which is going to help to ensure that that pension fund is the contributions from the the government is being deducted and its own contribution. I don't know whether it's going to meet up to what the expectations are in terms of the pension laws, but at least you are certain that every month.
So this is positive news.
Oh, yes, for me it is.
Okay. The rider also says, Joe, earlier we were talking about the national honors. OK's Bill Gates, $959 for
national honor. I don't know if Uade's name is
Bill
there.
Gates. Unfortunately, I checked. We didn't make it this year.
You didn't make it?
We'll try next year. But some prominent names on the list. You have Bayo Onanuga, the presidential aide. He will be given the award of the commander of the Order of the Niger, CON. Ms. Ayobe, officer of the Order of Niger. She was instrumental to the June 12th struggle. She is a legal practitioner. Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, CON. Senator Shehu Sani, CON. He was also part of the June 12th struggle. Governor Basani too was part of the June 12th.
So is it like the June 12th?
Femi Falana, yes, he was part of the June 12th.
Long time.
Ogoni 9 also, and there are lots of posthumous conferments on national honor here. So Ken Sarua too will be given CON.
That's Ken Sarua.
Well, I do think that when it comes to national honor, are you with me? First and foremost, a lot of it comes at the discretion of the president and who he believes, and the committee that works with him towards ascertaining those names, who he believes have contributed a lot to Nigeria. When I heard a number of people on those names, both those who have died and those who are living currently, many of them have contributed to the growth of this country. So you can't take away their names being there. Even if some people will say, oh, and I know one of the names that they will talk about is Mr. Bayo Onanuga. But the truth of it is that he has contributed immensely to what we have today
in journalism.
So you can't take that away from him. You might not like, it's not about his personality. It's about what contributions he has put in place towards the growth of journalism in Nigeria, and that you can't take away. Bill Gates, because of the number of things he's done in Nigeria in terms of the Bill Gates Foundation, when it used to be the Bill and Melinda Foundation, now the Gates Foundation, in terms of malaria and so many other things. And yes,
it's philanthropic work.
Yeah, this philanthropic work in Nigeria, and you're allowed to do that also. So I haven't seen a comprehensive list, but all those names that you've mentioned, do they deserve to get awards in Nigeria or to be honored as Nigerians who have contributed to? Yes, they do. And yes, I totally agree with them being conferred on whatever honors that the president believes that they deserve. I do.
Okay. All right. Anyway, we have just 2 more minutes to go before Sam Dandy comes up for entertainment. Let's now look at another story from the Daily Independent. Tinubu may delay 2026 budget presentation over 2025 performance report. I think this is a very interesting conversation. Page 6 has that. There might be a delay of the 2026 budget presentation over the 2025 performance report. So far, so good. There were talks, especially from the presidency, that the implementation of the 2025 fiscal year should actually be sped up. They need more implementations and so on. Experts have also spoken deeply about this concerning, because ever since the budget presentation for 2025 was done, there seemed to have been an overlap from 2024, if you recall, entering 2025. And now experts are also saying, okay, fine, all these all these presentations and what we see so far so good, we have not felt the impact of what is really going on. And now, so fast, we're now going to 2026, and there's going to be another presentation again. Maybe, hopefully, this time there wouldn't be the singing of your mandate. We shall stand in the National Assembly. What do you make of all of what do you make of all of this in terms of the concerns?
So let me wear my finance and accounting cap now. Okay. So there is a period for you to start to look at budgets for the next year.
Okay.
And that period is now. However, one of the things that you use to start to look at how you prepare the budget for next year is when you look at the first 3 quarters of the current year.
How the budget
and how he has
implementation,
gone. The implementation, the things that need to be done, the amount of income that you expected, and that starts to give you an idea of what the projections will be, and then also starts to give you an idea of when you guesstimate the last quarter. So, for instance, let me give revenue as an example. If you said you were going to make 1,200 naira for the year, and by September you're already making 1,200, you can actually now say, okay, every month we're making about 150 or more. Do you understand? Meaning that our projections till the end of the year, that 150 will take us from 1,200 to XY. And then you can also use that to start to plan and say, if we've done...
Yeah, like the president a few weeks ago said they met their revenue targets for the year.
Yeah, but aside from that's what I'm saying. So he needs
just one of the components.
Yes, that's one of the components. So you now start to say, okay, now I can now start to think that, okay, if we said it was 100 we're going to be making every month and we're making 150, then when we look at the things that we've used to make that 150, how do we improve on them so that we can say, okay, we should be able to project that it's 200 we should be making from 2026. So I do agree that he needs to look at all that, and the team has to provide him with that guidance. So in terms of what's it called, parastatals and all, just coming in and say, oh, this is the budget, we increase it by 5% for next year, that would stop. Then will now be based on the activities that have been done, which is how much of it has been implemented. Because you could be implementing only 50-60% of what the expectations of the budgets are, and we are making more money. Like you said, we've met our revenue target, but the implementation of the things to drive that revenue, was it 100% or is it just 70%? Because that gives you an idea of
to do
what to do for 2026. That if I'm doing 70% implementation and I'm making 100% revenue in terms of my target, then if I push my implementation to 100%, then I should be able to maybe say add another 20-30% to it. So I totally agree with what he wants to do. Are you with me? But I think the thing that needs to be done is that the data and the information that needs to come out, at least for the end of the third quarter, should have been out. It should be out before the end of this month. So it still gives him enough time to get people, when you're submitting your budget, to do that.
Thank you so much for your analysis, as always, Uade Ahimie. I would let Joe Hansen handle the part of your designation, because I'm still struggling to get used to it. Uade Ahimie of what?
Relax now.
Okay.
Relax.
Answer me now.
Relax. We have entertainment up next. They know he is. He doesn't, a big man doesn't need to
happy customer service week, my brother.
Happy customer service.
Thank you very much.
Happy customer service week.
Thank you very much.
Anything for...